Hi, this is Arthur Carmazzi, best-selling author, currently ranked as one of the world's top 10 thought leaders in organizational culture and leadership, and sometimes awesome guy. And welcome to the show, The Nights of Transformation. Today we're going to be talking about why leadership models don't work. And, of course, you probably have heard a lot of these different kinds of models, or even possibly have learned them and gone to some kind of training. So we have transactional leadership, we have transformational leadership, we have servant leadership, we have situational leadership. Basically, there is a lot of different leadership models. But if you have gone through training, the question is, how sustainable was your experience? Did you really embrace everything from the model and become this kind of leader? Chances are, in fact, statistics even say, according to an ASTD statistic, that leadership training is the least of all skills transferred in a training environment, or basically meaning that of all the things that are trained, leadership skills has the least transferability, according to an ASTD study. So, what does that mean? Because sometimes you try to combine the different leadership models and you try to come up with something that works and everything, and basically, does that work for you? So here's the thing, okay? Specific people may embrace these and may actually be really great at being a transformational leader. If you are essentially charismatic, you can do it. Well, what if you're not? And then, of course, there's the servant leadership. Well, what if that doesn't really work for you either because of basically who you are? At the end of the day, different people have different characteristics, and trying to be something you're not is inauthentic, and being inauthentic is not very valuable when you're trying to be a great leader. So don't try to be something you're not. In fact, the goal here, if you're going to really develop a sustainable leadership model, is to basically be the best of who you can be. And there are two factors, okay, that basically will help you to achieve great leadership, okay? And the first one is, essentially, build your own personal leadership identity, being the best of who you are. See, in different environments, it could be maybe with your kids, it could be maybe with your family, it could be possibly with some of your friends. In different environments, there are different facets of who you are that literally are brought out. You may be really great under pressure or maybe not so good under pressure, depending on which environment. So by understanding who you are at your best in all these different environments, kind of bringing it together to create your own ideal leadership model self, well, basically, you are going to be more sustainably able to keep up being, a great leader. Why? Because no change is required. See, with all these other models, they require you to change. And change is difficult. Okay? Not because it's not good, but change is just difficult. Why? Because, you're already you, and trying to be somebody else is more difficult than being you. But see, being you at your best, there's a totally different story. You can much more easily be you at your best than somebody else's version of what works best. Does that make sense? I hope so. Because let's look at what are some of the characteristics that are required in order for you to really find you at your best. First of all, identifying your emotional drivers. What are your primary motivators? What are the things that essentially drive you to do things? Because this makes an impact. Number two, where is your ambiguity relief process? Ambiguity relief is the process by which your brain gets clarity, and of course also affects how you take action or don't take action. And of course, the values that you have are also a major factor. And identifying your perception gaps. See, sometimes when you look in the mirror, you think, oh, I am not a control freak. I am very kind and helpful to people. But then, if you actually ask the people, maybe at different levels, that you deal with, they may say, oh my gosh, he's such a control freak. Oh. And you don't even know it. Why? Because you view yourself with one perception, but others view you with a different. And understanding those perception gaps can make a huge impact on basically being you at your best, because it helps you to see what you're not seeing. So, let's look at where you can find some of these things. First of all, ambiguity relief. You can find that through coloredbrain.com. You can go there and identify your ambiguity relief process, basically the way that your brain interprets and processes information to get clarity. Okay? You can also go to emotionaldrive.net to identify your primary emotional drives and also your perception gap. So these are a couple of tools that are available to you in order to find that out. But now let's look at number 2. See, number 2, if you're going to be developing a leader, is to essentially develop the leader within the framework of the culture they are leading. See, oftentimes you may have all of these great characteristics and everything else, and you can be an amazing leader in one organization. But then suddenly you go to another organization, and for some reason it doesn't work. So identifying the culture that you're in, and also very importantly, the culture that you want to achieve in the organization that you are leading, is absolutely essential in order to develop your leadership identity, and for that matter, your sustainable leadership ability at its highest level. So let's look at what are some of the characteristics of a culture, what we need to find out. So first, we need to identify the level of the culture. Where is the culture? How far has the culture evolved? Okay? Then we need to support success of individuals through the organization, which means that people have to actually be successful in the process of achieving organizational objectives. And third, okay, we have to create an environment that develops leaders also with their own ideal leadership identity. Okay? Now, how do we identify some of these? Well, you can go to cultureevolution.com, another tool that'll help you to identify the level your culture is at. And with that, basically, let's look at what we've learned. We've learned that in order to be a good leader, you can't use leadership models because they're not you, and trying to be somebody else is not really something that's sustainable. Number 2, we have found that creating a personal leadership identity is going to be an effective way to sustainably be the best of who you are, bringing out that part of you from different environments to make an ideal personal leadership model for yourself that will basically get you the results. And of course, number 3 is that you've got to do it all within the culture itself. And with that, this is Arthur Carmazzi wishing you great success.